I hate everything that Charles Oliveira does or has ever done when it comes to marketing. I hate everything about Charles Oliveira until I don't. And it's very interesting because Charles is doing the same thing now that I had a big problem with, and all of a sudden, I'm a huge fan. He has not changed. He did the same thing. I have changed. You know, I was told that one time, guys. I was hated and people were booing me, and it was this whole thing, but that's how I was getting attention. This was the shtick that I was running. I was on the other side of the tracks, right? I was the evil to the good. All right, Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper's son, Colt, and I were teammates. So if you're ever in a jam, you're doing a promo, you're going to a press conference, whatever it could be, and you have the ability to get a hold of Roddy Piper, it's very useful and helpful. Could we agree on that? Talk to Piper. He didn't give me the lines that I was looking for. Like if I called Stone Cold would say this. And that's what I was looking for. Piper didn't do that, but he said to me, and I've shared this with you before, Chael, one day, they, meaning the audience, are going to love you for the same things that they currently hate you for. Now, that's a piece of poetry. That sounds beautiful. I don't know what the hell Roddy Piper was saying. What does that mean? I was very polite. I thanked him. This is my teammate. It's my friend's father. I'm going to show him a level of respect. I don't know what he said. What does that mean? Someday they're going to love you for the same things they hate you for. What the hell is that? And then it happened. And then I knew. But it's now happening to me on the other side of the tracks as it pertains to Charles Oliveira. Look, here's what's going on. Charles Oliveira, champion of the world. The champion of the hardest weight class. None of us debate what is the most difficult weight in MMA right now. It is 155 pounds. If you are the king of 155 pounds, you therefore, by proxy, should be recognized as the current GOAT. Doesn't happen for Charles Oliveira. Not only does it not happen for Charles Oliveira for the pound-for-pound GOAT status, which is currently grabbed by Kamaru Usman, he's not even recognized as the best within his weight class. He has the championship of the world, for God's sakes. He is not even recognized by his fellow peers as the rightful holder to the crown. Now, I realize that's going away. And I realize that even some of us sat on that side of the fence, that he had beaten Chandler, but that wasn't enough, and the whole you must come out and defend it, this whole song and dance that we do. But he did, and he did it successfully. And he did it over a common opponent of Khabib, and he did it 61 seconds faster than Khabib did. I mean, in all fairness, Charles really has proven himself, but he's not doing anything different. When I tell you I didn't like the stuff he was doing, I don't like that Charles Oliveira shows up to a weigh-in with blonde hair and he shows up to a match with brown hair. I don't like that he's like Clark Kent, that one day he's got glasses at a press conference and then he's Superman in the cage without them. I don't like that he's not recognizable. I like the Ben Matlock approach. I like the guy that wears the same thing every single time until the world knows that's you. I don't care if that's Conor McGregor in the tuxedo. I don't care if that's Chuck Liddell with the mohawk. I don't care if that's Quentin Jackson with the chain. There's something to be said for a gimmick and a character so that you're recognizable. Is the one thing that Charles was missing, and nobody grabbed him. Nobody within his team grabbed him and said, hey, let's quit changing your identity. People don't know what you look like yet. Now that he's over with me, I can't wait to see what he wears next. I can't wait to see the new frames of glasses. I don't care if his hair is purple. I mean, right, once it works, once that problem is solved, and it is solved, Charles Oliveira is now a recognizable name. So now what Roddy Piper told me many years ago, which is they will love you for the same thing that they currently hate you for, I now love Oliveira for the same things that I hated him for. Point Oliveira. But Oliveira right now just did something very low-hanging fruit. He's in this back and forth. I don't even know that this is Charles' option to fight Justin Gaethje or fight Conor McGregor. He is painting this narrative in a way that it is his decision. I don't know that Dana has given him that kind of leeway. But okay, Dana hasn't stepped in front of him and said he hasn't, so let's just go with the one narrative that we have, that Charles Oliveira is going to choose between Conor McGregor and Justin Gaethje. What does Oliveira do? Oliveira goes to social media and he sets up a poll. He wants feedback from the fans. Now, guys, don't ever mistake. Whenever you are asking for advice, you are looking for an accomplice. So Charles Oliveira has now gone to the very people, you, who will tell him who he should fight, whether you're inside of the big fight, which is Conor, or you're inside of the fight that represents integrity and you pay attention to the rankings in Justin Gaethje. He has now come to you, the very people who will tell him he did the wrong thing. And he has made you accomplices. It's simple. It's an easy one. It's low-hanging fruit, but he did it. It's what we call a cheap pop. You have a pop versus heat. Pop, that vernacular means a cheer. Heat means a boo. So a wrestler will often go into a new town, let's call it Baltimore, and he'll grab the microphone in the ring and he'll say, "What's up, Baltimore?" And that's going to get a cheap pop. Everybody's going to cheer because he just said their hometown. Or he could go for cheap heat that says, I hate being in Baltimore, and everybody boos. It's very simple, but it doesn't mean that it's any less effective. I can't give him an A in creativity, but I can give him an A in identifying something that works, something that's going to appeal him to the masses, act as though he's asking for advice when he's truly looking for accomplices. And he found them. And you accomplices also gave him the answer that he had his fingers crossed and he was hoping for, which was Conor McGregor. Now, the one reason, and there is only one, that we don't want it to be Conor, is we don't want to screw over Justin Gaethje. Now, the litmus test for should we cry and hang our head for Justin Gaethje is simply this. If Justin was in the same position, what would Justin do? Would Justin go for the big money fight, or would Justin pay attention to the integrity and adhere to that of the rankings? Justin would go for the big money fight. Now, Justin will give this other guy an opportunity too. He's just going to have to wait an extra 3 months. Okay, no problem. But the point being, there's really no victim here. Everybody, if in the same opportunity, in same position of Charles Oliveira, had their choice. And this was just done, by the way. This was done and made public to Dustin Poirier. Dana White called him up and said, you can fight Conor McGregor, or you can fight for the championship. If you fight Conor McGregor, it will not be a championship match. Justin made this very public. Nobody denied it. It was very matter of fact. Dana wanted to show respect to Justin Gaethje, recognizing you are the number one contender, but there's another big thing out there for you, and I'm not going to put the belt up. What do you want to do? Poirier made his choice. I want to do both. I'm going to go do the big money fight first, and then, if that goes well, I'll still be the number one contender, and I'll go right in there for the belt. Okay, nobody was upset about it. So I'm only bringing this to you a couple of things. First off, I don't think that Oliveira has been given this magic wand to wave over the situation, but he is making believe that he does. And he just might. I don't know that he has, but he just might have that ability, right? What the champion wants does matter, particularly when it lines up with the biggest star in the sport. If the champion wants what the biggest star in the sport wants, it makes sense that you could bring these things together. So where does this go and how do they get it done? I do feel that you could do both. It's a very rare thing where the biggest star in the sport happens to be in your weight class. He happens to be coming back and he wants a piece of you, at least according to his social media. It's a very rare thing. But it's like anything in life. Be very careful what you ask for because you just might get it. I do not love the idea, and this isn't a Conor supporter, right? To my two viewers with my window sheen, I still like the guy. And as a Conor supporter, I don't want him to jump in the deep end right away. I just don't. That doesn't mean I'm going to get my way. If that's what he wants to do and that's best for business, that's likely what he's going to go and do. I just don't like that idea. I think that we need to learn something from what happened to Conor. Conor simply was not himself in Dustin Poirier McGregor Part 2. That was not Conor McGregor. That is not the Conor McGregor that Dustin had fought the first time. That is not the Conor McGregor that stood across from Chad Mendes. That was not the Conor McGregor who fought Jose Aldo. That was not the Conor McGregor that boxed Floyd Mayweather. That just simply wasn't him. That was a rusty guy who'd been out for a period of time and was trying to get his feet wet in the middle of a pandemic, went training weird and went to an entirely different continent to do it in front of a crowd that did not exist. I mean, in all fairness, it was a very unique and very weird situation for Conor. But if we're to learn anything from that, it didn't have to do with the pandemic. It didn't have to do with the training. It didn't have to do with the continent. And it didn't have to do with the lack of energy from the crowd. It really did not. It had to do with one thing, which was Conor been out for a period of time. His reactions were a little bit off. The pacing and the time of the match is faster than you can duplicate in the workout room. Conor did the best that he could for the situation he was in, but he can't make up for the fact that he wasn't in live competition. That's just what happened. So I don't love the idea, if we're just voicing things back and forth, I don't love the idea that he comes off of an injury, the first meaningful injury. Conor's not hurt, he's injured. There is a vast difference. We have no idea what training looks like. We just know that it's not existing. I meet people within this sport, and this sport of MMA is the only people that do this, that call any level of exercise you get training. No other sport does that. There are workouts, there are practices, there is exercise, and then there is training. Training is when you eat, sleep, and breathe the activity, period. It is your absolute highest effort that you have. If you're at 70%, you give 100% of 70% all the time. It's training. It's very different. You cannot train very often. A training camp is right around 8 weeks. But you were practicing, exercising, and working out 800 weeks prior to that, for the good ones. I only bring that to you because whatever it's looking like, Conor's not able to train. Conor can get his heart rate up, Conor can sweat, Conor can be in the gym, Conor can be disciplined. He can't train. He's hurt. He's rehabbing. He's doing everything right. Does he need to step in right in there with the absolute best? And look, that's a whole other conversation too. If there's anybody that Conor is likely to beat to become the world champion, it is the sitting champion right now. Charles Oliveira, Conor McGregor is a fascinating matchup. It is very problematic for Oliveira. Conor McGregor is as good of a striker as this sport has ever seen. Oliveira is a very dynamic striker who showed some real wrestling prowess in a couple of contests, but in other contests didn't. Conor can handle himself on the ground. Conor can take care of himself on the feet. The in-between has been a problem with very high-level guys. So now you start to have a question of, is Oliveira a really high-level guy? Is he that high enough of a level guy? I don't have the answers to these questions. I'm just sharing for you, however this goes, the fans are going to get something very special. I don't know that Oliveira has this magic wand, but I do know that Oliveira is doing all the things that used to annoy me, and they don't annoy me anymore. Are you guys feeling that? Are you guys kind of getting won over by this Charles Oliveira angle? And now, while acting as though he wants your advice, he's found accomplices.